Hey Wargamers, welcome back to the channel, Death from Above Wargaming. I'm Aaron and I am coming back with more Battlytics excitement for you. This is another one picked by our patrons by popular demand, the Black Lanner. This is very cool. This was designed by Jade Falcon for the clan invasion. I think the official release date according to Master Unit List is 3052. And I'll be honest, this was one of those mechs where I was like, nah, it's cool, until I saw the new model, which I absolutely love. I think it's phenomenal. Tom painted one up, I believe, in either Nova Cat or Jade Falcon colors. I don't remember which, but that's neither here nor there. What matters, guys, is we're going to be looking at this clan monstrosity. This thing has a massive array of weapons. It's got ECM. It's fast. I mean, it's really, really fast. And it's well armored. It's well armored as well. So it's got all the stuff. But is it worth it? It costs a fortune. 2,200 battle value, 2,268, I believe, to be precise. Which is, I mean, insane for this size of a mech, right? I mean, that's more than your garden variety Atlas. So we'll see. Can this thing actually pull its weight in terms of battle value? Guys, stay tuned. It's coming right up. The Black Lanner, a 55-ton mech that costs 2268 battle value. Wow, only in clan space. So this mech, again, developed by Jade Falcon. It was made available in 3052, but was developed for Operation Revival. This mech is extremely fast, 7'11". It also has mask, so it can sprint up to 14 hexes or inches in a turn. 10 clan double heat sinks, so it can dissipate 20 points of heat. Does have an XL engine, endosteel, ferrofibers, so all the goodies packed into this mech. It's got 82.7% armor coverage, so that's not bad. We've seen better, we've seen worse, but think like 75-80% is probably about the average, so this is right in there. Armament is what really, I think, makes my eyes pop a little bit for a 55-ton mech. It's got a clan ER large laser, which is, a fantastic weapon. It has 2 clan ER medium lasers. Clan ER medium lasers are fantastic, much, much better, in my opinion, than their inner sphere brethren. It has a standard LRM 10, and it has an SRM 6 as well. So it's got a really nice spread of weapons. It almost honestly reminds me a little bit of the Cauldron-born, with the sort of the missile layout and things like that. Of course, it's about 10 tons lighter. It is 10 tons lighter, so it doesn't have as much firepower on board, but sort of similar, I think, in that layout overall. I mentioned it does have the electronic countermeasures suite. It's got mask, and then it has the ammo in the left and right torsos, respectively, for those missile launchers. Now, according to Sarna, the Black Lanner's intended to be used with lighter mechs like the Fire Falcon and the Fire Moth. Apparently, Jade Falcon, apparently there's a real bird called the Black Lanner in clan lore, and there's also a real Fire Falcon. And they they released the Black Lanner into the Fire Falcon habitat, and the birds got along so well, they decided the mechs should be paired together. Like, only the clans would do stuff this weird. Like, the Inner Sphere would not do these things. So when you guys are like, how come you don't like the clans? Because they do weird bird stuff. So anyway, Black Lanner. Great weapons, great armor, great speed, horrendous price tag. Let's take a look at the offensive benchmarks. All right, so let's take a look first at the red line ACD and then the optimized. This thing can build up heat really, really, really quickly. This thing basically can overheat in like 6 turns. That's bananas. So basically, as soon as the pair of ER medium lasers come into range, which is 15 inches, if I'm not mistaken, the thing can start overheating to high hell. So definitely need to be careful of that. That's definitely cause for concern. However, I think with careful application of weapons, and you're not just alpha striking every turn, you can do a decent amount of damage and control that heat. And you're still going to take on it. I think just immediately gut reaction, this is not like a beginner mech. You can see in the optimized benchmark, the heat's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. You're going to need to have some discipline and some understanding of what penalties you're willing to take on to min-max and get the most out of this mech. I think a new player might struggle a little bit with this mech, but I think a veteran player would do just fine with it. The baseline damage, 174.6, can be optimized up to 183.8. So that's a 5.3% gain over your baseline. If you tweak and you play with the heat a little bit, you can squeeze this mech for a bit more damage. If you do decide to go bananas and just alpha strike, you are going to lose a substantial amount of damage. You can see it goes down to 82.1, which is abysmal, and you can generate 224 points of heat over 12 turns. That's a lot. So let's take a look here at the lethality index. So the way this benchmark works, right? We basically put it in an arena with a javelin and see how quickly and basically how many times it can kill it in 10,000 different simulations. So it killed the javelin 98.4% of the time. That's an excellent score. Now, what's interesting is most of the time it's coring this mech out. It's not getting engine kills, right? I mean, it is, but not a ton, like sub 5%. It's not getting a ton of head kills or, insta-kill type hits because it doesn't have, a lot of really big decapitators, but it is able to deliver substantial chunks of damage right into that center torso. So that, that's telling. The thing, again, capable of doing damage. If you remember back to the Hunchback, I think that was at 118 points of damage optimized or thereabouts. This is 183. So that's a good sign. Maybe it is worth that price tag. But let's see, will the survivability hold up? Let's take a look at the defensive benchmarks and see. All right, so armor-wise, we can see, this thing is pretty well distributed. A little light on the arms, which makes me nervous because, that is where all the lasers are, right? And those lasers are very scary. Again, the clan ER mediums together doing 14 points of damage. The ER large doing 10, which is, again, that's nothing to scoff at. I said it really didn't have any decapitators. I mean, I guess 7 points, 10 points. Like if that head is taking damage, you can certainly lop it off. But anyway, back to the arms. The arms could probably use a little bit more armor here. But overall, it's a fairly good distribution for what we're working with. Again, at that 82% mark for total armor coverage. Now, what's interesting here is the mobility analysis. Actually, when I looked at this the first time, I went back into the Battlytics code just to make sure there wasn't an error because I didn't actually see it using the mask in this chart. But then I realized when you're running and you're at 11 hexes, 11 inches, you're getting a +4 target mod. When you activate mask and you go up to 14, you're still getting the same target mod. So it's actually not helping you in terms of a survivability perspective. It's just helping you from a positioning perspective. And I think that's really important for players to understand going into the match because certain mechs, like you're going to want to use that mask, more often, I think, to try to bump that TMM up, especially in the slower mechs. Whereas with this one, it doesn't actually change the TMM because it's already so blazing fast. You need a ton to get up to that next 5 +5. It's substantial. So just interesting point of note on that. Now, the survivability on this mech is fantastic. 96.9%, 97% almost in total. For a 55-ton mech, that's tremendous. Back to the mobility. I mean, this thing's holding its target mod the entire game. Its average target mod is 3.99. That's over 10,000 simulations. That means if you're shooting this thing at long range, you're just out of the gate at a +8, not even including your gunnery. If you're even a decent gunner, +2, +1, you're still looking at very high numbers to hit this mech. Even at point blank range, if you're at short range +0 mod and you're your standard inner sphere veteran of a gunnery 3, you need 7s to hit. It's like a coin toss, right? Actually. So it's impressive in that regard. And I remember Tom using this mech against me to great effect, leveraging that speed and that high TMM. So that speaks volumes for this mech. It does pretty solid damage, but it has incredible survivability. So very interested to see, where that efficiency score comes out. I still keep looking at that massive BV price tag, though. I'm not optimistic, but let's find out. All right, so here it is. The efficiency score is in. It is a 5.72. So I'm not surprised. I mean, a 2268 BV price tag is massive, and I don't know why it's so high. I mean, I do know why it's so high, but it just seems like the clan mechs with their high speed, they just have such attacks. It's almost incongruent with the the value of the mech. I mean, I would probably pay 1,800 for this mech, but 2268 it just seems excessively high. But it is what it is. And again, that's 2268. That's unmodified. You slap a gunnery 2 or 3 pilot in this thing, 3-4, or 2-4 or 2-3. I mean, the price tag goes through the roof. So, is what it is. But what's beautiful about this mech is the effectiveness. I mean, it is a 1.1% damage loss. I mean, this thing is almost guaranteed to give you what you ask for, and that's a good thing. There's something to be said about dependability and reliability. So as long as you keep this thing moving, you're claiming that very high target mod, you'll be in really good shape. So the gunnery sensitivity on this thing is fairly low. You're not going to see tremendous gains going up or down. Yes, you can squeeze out a little bit more at gunnery 1 or gunnery 0, but again, the price gets so prohibitive because it's so high to start with. It's almost not worth it. I would honestly almost consider playing this at a lower gunnery 3, certainly not 4, but a gunnery 3 would probably do the trick in this design. If you really want to play it, would probably give you the best bang for your buck there, where you have a pretty tough mech that's survivable, because again, that's not really dependent at all on the pilot's skill. But you still have those ER mediums and the ER large, right? That can really just rip things open, especially smaller mechs. So interesting. Overall, I was hoping it would be a little bit higher. Because I do love the clan ER mediums. The ER large it eats up heat. It's a little tough in that regard. But I was hoping for a little bit more, but that price tag is extremely high. The one thing that is not factored into Battlytics, and I think we all know this, is the benefits of things like ECM. And I know that can be situational. Sometimes it just doesn't matter and doesn't come into play at all. But it does add a little bit, and it can help. So something to think about there. But speaking of how we would use this mech, let's take a look at the roles, the threat, all of that good stuff. So one thing while this is loading, I took a look at the point value in Alpha Strike, and it costs 47 points. So even in Alpha Strike, it is just a very expensive mech. And again, that has to do with that TMM, the target mod, just is what it is. You pay for speed in this game. You pay out the nose for those fast clan mechs, and unfortunately the efficiency really doesn't support the buy. It's not like a bad mech. It's just not one. We've seen the ones where they can do substantial amounts of damage, and they're priced right. I mean, I don't even know aren't there Timberwolves? I definitely know there's Vultures that are cheaper than this. I think the twin Gauss Vulture is only 1,800. I'll have to look that up. I'm gonna load Mega Mech as we speak here, so I can take a look. So this mech, where would I play this mech on the table? So I have 3 specific roles. The first one is in a cavalry role. The second one is a skirmisher, and the third is a picket role. That last one was sort of a stretch. I'll tell you where my head was at with that in a bit. Let's talk about cavalry. So that is a very in my opinion, a very easy shoe-in mech, right? Like, it moves fast, it's got incredible toughness, it's got good damage. You can get it across the board to cap objectives quickly or support friendly units. You can basically do whatever you need to do there with this mech, with the kind of speed that this thing has. And the mask is really only icing on the cake in that regard. In terms of a skirmisher role, the ER mediums, again, like, I'm just such a fanboy of clan ER mediums, 15 inch, 15 hex, and the ER large and the LRM 10 and the speed. I mean, you can dance this thing out on the periphery of the battlefield and just, you know, rein in serious firepower. I mean, impressive amounts of damage. The SRM6, again, that is, you know, that's great too. I mean, if you can get in range and you can unload with it, great. But I mean, it's almost like a backup weapon for me because of the heat load and just the direct damage fire potential of those ER mediums. So anyway, and then in terms of a picket mech, so this is fast enough to get in the face of bigger, slower, you know, like, I'm thinking longbows and archers and things along those lines that, you know, that struggle in a close range fight. And this thing is fast enough, if you get it in, to get into the rear arcs of some of those bigger and slower mechs. If they're preoccupied putting fire down range and things like that, you can distract them. You can shoot them in the rear armor. You know, you can do some interesting things with this. Again, it can move 14 hexes, you know, all in if you got the mask on. So that thing can get in and really, you can use mask opportunistically, I think, to really get in a good position. And it is so tough that I think, you know, again, it has impressive survivability. So the only thing I will say about the survivability is, you know, we looked at it. Ammo hits were, you know, ammo deaths were low. Ammo hits, I mean, the side torsos are pretty packed out in this mech. You know, there's still like a 25% chance you're going to hit ammo. If you do get an ammo explosion, you know, even though it has case, like, you're losing that arm. And you're losing basically half of your weapons on the mech, because obviously the side torso contains a launcher, the arm contains one or two, you know, pretty substantial lasers. So something to think about there. It's not really necessarily reflected here in that gory detail, but that is something to consider. You know, if you do end up taking an ammo hit, you know, you could be seriously facing some consequences. So I would say if they start getting internal, it almost makes sense to dump your ammo, because the launchers, the damage that they produce is so secondary to those beam weapons. Anyway, so arc of fire, this thing does pretty good here. Now, I think I called this out in the beginning. It only has upper arm actuators. This is very important because it can arm flip. And I know I'm sure I've gotten this wrong in the past, but if you have both actuators as upper arm actuators, you can arm flip. I think if only one of them is upper and one of them has an upper and a lower, like, you can't arm flip. I think it has to be like rifleman style, where it's only uppers in both. This one only has uppers, so you can arm flip with this one. So you really have a 360-degree arc of fire with all of your lasers, which is pretty fantastic. Now, in terms of alpha strike and things like that, I think we talked about just the sheer direct damage potential of the lasers. But all in, if you have a very lucky day, you can do 46 points of damage. If all your missiles hit and all of your lasers hit, you know, that's what you can get out of this thing. And that happens, obviously, at that 3-inch mark when everything is in short range, the SRM specifically. Remember, there's no minimum range on clan LRMs because, you know, they're just better at everything. No, I'm not bitter. So what I want to talk about, though, is the peak ACD, so your average calculated damage. So you're at 31.9 points of damage at 3 inches. So that means, you know, if you roll all your dice and not everything hits, but the average things hit, you're still doing a 31.9 point alpha strike. So I sort of made the equivalent in the last Battlytics review with the Hunchback, that, hey, this is That's 3 awesomes, right? But that's if everything hits. This one on average is better than an awesome, right? Did I say 3 awesomes? I meant 1 awesome, 3 PPCs. You get it. This is actually, better than that. This is, on average doing more than an awesome, which is pretty great in that regard. So it can build up 9 points of heat. We talked about the volatility on the heat curve, right? This can build up 9 points of heat in 1 trigger pull once all of its weapons are in range. So you do need to be very careful on that. But closing thoughts on this thing, I still like it. Would I play it if I could fit it in? If we were using like our narrative strike ops system and I could fit in, a 2200 battle value mech and not get murdered for it, I would. But in like a tournament game or like a matched point game, I would find it very, very difficult to justify just the cost of this, just the sheer cost of this thing. It seems very, very high. Unlike the Hunchback, which sucked but was really cheap, this thing's very good but extremely expensive. So you need to consider that. And maybe if you're playing massive points, the weight of 2200 BB is a little bit more diluted. Like if you're playing 2 trinaries or whatever, or a massive game of Alpha Strike, again that kind of holds a little bit less weight. But in a 5v5 or something along those lines, that's a lot of points, a lot of eggs in one basket. So that's my thoughts on the Black Lanner Prime. I want to know what you think. I want to know what your favorite configuration is. I want to know your favorite Black Lanner moments. I want to know what you think about the new model. I love it. I think it's the coolest thing ever. I've got one primed and ready to go. I'm not sure. I'm debating on which clan to paint it in. I've got 3 clans I want to do. Three clan forces I want to do. 2 I'm very set on. And then the last one, I'm not sure. I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't give you any hints. But I gotta figure that out soon. If you want to support the channel, guys, head on over to Patreon. $1, $5, $10, but $1 is the minimum that gets you in on the action. It's 25 cents a week. If there's 5 weeks, it's only 20 cents a week. Some months have 5 weeks. It's crazy. It's true. Strange but true. But in all seriousness, Patreon is a great way to help support the channel. Let us know that you like what you see. And of course, at the higher tiers, you do get access to some additional things and perks and whatnot. So pretty cool stuff. Also, check out Aries Games and Minis. We get comments, questions all the time, like, hey, where do I get this? Where do I get that? The short answer is Aries Games and Minis. You can get the dice, the books, obviously the minis, the rule books, the novels, right? All the books, any kind of BattleTech book. They have terrain, hardware studio stuff, which, I love my hardware studios. So all of that stuff is over at Aries Games and Minis. So don't forget to check out that place. It is fantastic. AriesGamesandMinis.com. That said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Would love to hear what you think about this review. And of course, stay tuned. Always great stuff coming from Death from Above Wargaming. I'll give you a little spoiler if you're still listening. The next 2 mechs we're going to do are new mechs that are going to be in the Alpha Strike box set. So I'll let you stew on that. Have a great night.